afternoon and thank you for joining us at this time. You're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The top stories: abducted Kuriga students in Kaduna State regain freedom. Federal government initiates proceedings against Binance over tax evasion. Federal government advocates for unified effort among West African nations to protect shared telecommunications infrastructure. Details coming up shortly. Right, welcome back. I am Omo FAP Sosemere. Now let's begin with the cheering news of the release of students who were abducted by gunmen from LEA Primary and Government Secondary School in Kuriga in the Chukun local government area of Kaduna State. Media reports had quoted school officials and residents as saying that 287 students were abducted on March the 7th, 2024. But contrary to reports, Governor Obasani of Kaduna State has said 137 school children were abducted from Kuriga in the Chukun local government area of the state and not 287 school children. Sani, who stated this in an interview on a national television program, said all the school children abducted by bandits have been rescued by the military in collaboration with local authorities from neighboring Zamfara state. Governor Sani, however, lamented that a teacher who was kidnapped alongside the pupils could not make it out alive as he developed some complications while in captivity. And now the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has called for a total ban on the importation of needles and syringes to encourage local production and help to grow the nation's economy. According to a statement signed by the resident media consultant of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Shayo Akintola, Alausa stated this during his visit to the Afri Medical Manufacturing and Supplies Limited syringe factory in Ogun State. Alausa, who reportedly visited the factory, with the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoanite, the Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, among others, reaffirmed the determination of the federal government to provide the necessary support to the local manufacturing sector to enhance its contribution to the gross domestic product. He affirmed that the restructuring of syringe and needle production in Nigeria aimed to guarantee the availability of high-quality products manufactured by Nigerians to generate lucrative employment opportunities for Nigerians. Now, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment has directed applicants of the Presidential Conditional Grant Scheme to submit their national identification numbers as part of the necessary requirements to obtain a grant earmarked to cushion the effect the current economic reforms have had on businesses in the country. But the new directive was issued by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Aniete, in a post on her official X, formerly Twitter, yesterday. According to media reports, the government, through the Bank of Industry, had said it would be disbursing 3 categories of funding totaling 200 billion naira to support manufacturers and businesses across the country. It said the new rule was based on the new regulations from the Central Bank of Nigeria, directing Nigerians to link their national identification numbers with their bank accounts. Now, the federal government has initiated proceedings against Binance, a prominent cryptocurrency exchange platform, over tax evasion. The charges were filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. According to media reports, FIRS had in the suit implicated Binance with 4 tax evasion accusations, adding that it was a decisive move aimed at upholding fiscal responsibility and safeguarding the economic integrity of the country. Also, the federal government in the suit accused Binance of failure to register with FIRS for tax purposes and contravening existing tax regulations within the country. The charges leveled against Binance include non-payment of value-added tax, company income tax, failure to file tax returns, and complicity in aiding customers to evade taxes through its platform. Right, you're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, federal government last week uncovered the identity of 15 entities, including 9 individuals and 6 broader charge operators and firms allegedly involved in terrorism financing. However, this has been greeted with mixed reactions. Whilst some security experts have thrown their weight behind this publication, a sheikh, quite popular for interfacing with insurgents, has tongue-lashed the federal government for making public names of these terrorism financiers. Well, Comrade Salihu Mahmoud Dantata, a security analyst, joins me in a moment to discuss this revelation of terrorism financiers and whether or not it signals an end to insurgency in Nigeria. All of this and more after the break. Do join us again. Right, welcome back from that break. You're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. To other matters now, where the federal government has issued a call for a unified effort among West African nations to protect shared telecommunications infrastructure. This is against the backdrop of a recent internet outage that impacted West and Central Africa, leading to failures in multiple subsea cables and causing widespread disruption to online services, including banking operations. According to a statement by the Director, Public Affairs, Ruben Moka, the Executive Vice Chairman of the NCC, Aminu Maida, made the call during the 21st West Africa Telecommunications Regulatory Assembly Annual General Meeting held in Freetown, Sierra Leone over the weekend. The EVC's message was delivered at the annual general meeting by the Deputy Director, Public Affairs of the Commission, Nena Okoha, who stated about the recent submarine cable cuts that resulted in nationwide outages on multiple networks in 12 African countries have raised the urgent need for the sub-region to establish a mechanism to protect itself from damage to submarine infrastructure and its attendant impact on the sub-region. According to him, the impact of events like cable cuts highlights the need for a coordinated multilateral approach to protecting shared infrastructure across member nations. Now let's head on to Nasarawa State, where the Governor Abdullahi Sule has said that the death of 2 students of the Nasarawa State University during a palliative distribution stampede in the school was not as a result of negligence on the part of the government. It will be recorded that 2 students died in the unfortunate incident while others were injured during the stampede ahead of the distribution of the palliatives. Reacting to the incident, human rights advocate Femi Falano SAN in a statement said official negligence had led to the death of the students. Falano described the death of the student as unfortunate, noting that the authorities of the university failed to draw any lesson from the recent stampede, which claimed the lives of 7 persons during the distribution of 25 kg bags of rice in Lagos by the Nigeria Customs Service. The senior lawyer, however, said having regard to the facts and circumstances of the tragic incident, the Nasarawa State Police Command should be directed to investigate the allegations of criminal negligence which led to the unfortunate death of the 2 students. But Governor Sule, in an interview on national television, dismissed Falano's claims, stressing that it was not a case of negligence by the government. Well, federal government last week said it has uncovered the identity of 15 entities, including 9 individuals and 6 broader-charge operators and firms allegedly involved in terrorism financing. This development was revealed by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. According to media reports, the Nigeria Sanctions Committee met on March the 18th, 2024, where specific individuals and entities were recommended for sanction following their involvement in terrorism financing. Among the individuals named in the document was a Kaduna-based publisher, Tukur Mamu, who is currently being tried by the federal government for allegedly aiding the terrorists who attacked the Abuja-Kaduna train in March 2022. According to the document, Mahmoud participated in the financing of terrorism by receiving and delivering ransom payment over the sum of $200,000 in support of ISWAP terrorists for the release of hostages of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. The document also said one of the individuals is the suspected attacker of the St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, on June the 5th, 2022, and the Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, on July the 5th, 2022. However, an Islamic cleric, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, has disagreed with the federal government over the list of those linked to terrorism financing in the country. Gumi, who faulted the list, explained that the security agencies had no right to label anyone a terrorist financier, maintaining that terrorists finance their operations with monies made from ransom collected from kidnapped victims' families. Joining me now to discuss this is Comrade Salihu Mahmoud Dantata, a security analyst, and he joins us live via telephone this afternoon to discuss this development and also to tell us whether this actually signals an end to the an end to the era of insurgency in Nigeria. That conversation will begin in earnest after this breather. You join us again. Right, welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I have Comrade Salihu Mahmoud Dantata, a security analyst, of course, via telephone this afternoon to discuss this. Good afternoon to you, Comrade. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Right. After years of political statements, perhaps, the list of terrorism financiers has been made public. Will it be right or intelligent to say that this is indicative of President Tinubu's readiness to deal decisively with insurgency and terrorism in the country?
Well, volunteerism in any part of the world works very well, especially when it comes to security service. If you can vividly recall, at the advent of Boko Haram insurgency in northeastern part of Nigeria, some volunteer youths in the name Civilian Joint Task Force came up and assisted the Joint Task Force as well as the Army and other security agencies executing the war against insurgency in the northeastern part of the country. It helped to gather intelligence, to know the channels they follow, the markets they go to, their relatives, and how they get supply of fuel, food, and also other, and even how they make recruitment. So that is to tell you that practical experiment of volunteerism from indigenous civilian joint task force, mostly and mainly youths, it shows that it can in no small way help to curb, acts of terrorism and other, skeletal crimes in the country. So in a way, I think it was a foresighted decision by the president and commander-in-chief. And when they say somebody is president and commander-in-chief, it means he's in charge of the armed forces of that country. So I think it's a bold step, and it is going to go a long way, and it is going to as well promote volunteerism in other parts of the country where presently we are having insecurity and illegal abduction of children.
But do you see, the possibility of this revelation or publication of names of terrorism financiers, if you like, in terms of having a bite on the issues on ground?
Well, the publication of the names of terrorism, financiers, I don't think those names are the only names. You see, we were expecting names of some heavyweights, either retired generals, air vice marshals, rear admirals, top police echelons, and other top politicians. These names do not ring bell. These are just the smaller ones among the financiers. The names of terrorism financiers that Nigerians want to see are not those names. What is the weight of Tukur Mahmoud that is now in detention? What is the weight of the Bureau de Change operators, and what have you? There are certain crime de la crime in the system that have been sponsoring terrorism in the country, I think it once again brings us to the question of some people above the law where they cannot mention their names. These are not known names, so what is even their weight in the society? Well, how many people can they control? So what are their links internationally and domestically? So I think it's laughable when I saw the list. These are just some urchins, some miscreants. They are not personalities that we are expecting that are behind sponsorship of terrorism in the country. Maybe they are the smaller ones among them, but the federal government still owes the unveiling of the bigger names that have been sponsoring terrorism in this country.
But do you think it was out of place in the first place, to have published the names of these terrorism financiers, even though the names on the list are not the names you had actually expected to see?
If the names we are expecting were the names we will have said is something to celebrate, but these are relatively unknown personalities, even the Buruti agents, the operators, and what have you. So in the first place, these are not the names we are expecting, and I think we are not taking it that seriously. So I think the Tinubu administration needs to do a lot of its own work. Nobody should be shielded. Whoever, no matter how highly placed that person is, let the name be public. That is how it is done globally. So these are, just like I mentioned to you, these are names of just some chickens, some hens, and people we don't even expect. In some local government, you don't even know these names, talk more by state or Nigeria. So I think it is laughable. They still owe us a lot in terms of unveiling the names.
Well, I mean, one wouldn't want to make a storm in a teacup over this publication, and we understand that there are individuals or firms, that have been linked to, terrorism financing. And I think a number of Nigerians are actually wondering if we can actually, put a face to, these firms to really know who these financiers are. But, just to shift grounds a little bit, is it possible for you to give us an insight as to the names you were expecting to be on the list in terms of ranking?
Well, I mentioned to you that if they come mentioning names of some retired generals, AIGs, Air Vice Marshals, Rear Admirals, and some top echelons, who will have believed it, as this insecurity that persists is not ordinary. How can non-state actors that train for only 2 to 3 weeks become people that can even ambush the military, ambush the police, ambush everybody? That is to tell you there is a regimented person, either still in the service or retired, that is behind those trainings, those monies they use, and all these tactics and what have you. It doesn't lie on me to start calling names. I've just given you a sign of it because, number one, I'm not the National Security Advisor to the President, nor am I the Attorney General of the Federation, neither am I the Defense Minister or the Service Chief or IG or DSS Director General, or some other things. All I'm saying is that those that publish these names still have homework to do. Let them bring the exact names that are expected to be published, not just these skeleton names, because okay, what are their pedigrees in terms of security? What are their intelligence? What have you? Yes, I agree. Somebody can channel money through Burundi change and whatever. What about the other trainings? How do they get the hardware? The military gun trucks, the other camouflages, the guns, the rocket-propelled grenade, and other things they use in execution of the terrorism. So these are questions. So let's be intelligent enough to ask certain questions, and that is what I mean.
But are you optimistic that with these names, that have been made public, this would be a guide as to, pinpointing, the big names who are really involved in terrorism financing? That is, if these culprits whose names were published will come out to, unveil or reveal the big wigs. They would, it is like a hut where maybe you have a boy in the system and you already swore not to expose your benefactor or principal. So in a way, it's going to be very difficult, except if intelligence investigation do otherwise. Outside that, it is going to be absolutely very, very difficult. And the intelligence network is something that moves like chameleon movement, where something that is supposed to be done instantly, sometimes it could take 6 months, 1 year, or even 2. Look at for these names to come out. For how long have they been promising us? They started promising us from Jonathan administration till Buhari's 8 years expired, and now Tinubu administration before they brought these names. And these, like I mentioned to you, are not the names we are even expected. So I think the National Security Advisor's Office, the DGDSS, the Inspector General of Police, the Defense Intelligence Agency,
military intelligence, naval intelligence, air intelligence, and other coordinating, including the Interpol, still have our homework to do by bringing us the names of the real principal bigwigs behind this insecurity in the country. Don't forget, late head of state Sani Abacha said in one of his quotations during his administration that if insecurity persists beyond 48 hours, it means some government functionaries have hand in it. And from the look of things, from armed banditry, insurgency, and the recent attacks in Niger Delta, what have you, are some top government unscrupulous elements not behind it? Question mark is an answer they need to give to us.
Well, that actually speaks volumes, Comrade Salihu. Indeed, over the weekend, a number of Nigerians who have had reasons to deliberate on this particular subject matter, they've been asking questions like, why did it take, this long to even publish? Let's assume this is just, the first batch of names that have been published. But why did it take so long? Perhaps, maybe the previous administration really didn't have the political will, to make these names public, because you recall clearly that a number of people had come out in previous administrations to say that they know those, financing terrorism in the country, but at the end of the day, names were not mentioned. But then another question would be, what difference, would it even make having named or made public the names of these terrorism financiers? That brings me to the next question, Comrade. Taking a look at the progression of events, in the past years and in recent times, you take a look at the body language of the government, when it comes to being proactive, addressing issues headlong. Do you think something meaningful would come out of this at the end of the day? And if yes, what is the duration you're looking at?
You see, I'm not expecting any meaningful outcome. Number one, we've had instances where suspected kidnappers, bandits, and insurgents are arrested and imprisoned. The Criminal Justice Administration itself is faulty, which you know. No country in its recess would condone long detention of somebody that participated in kidnap-related cases, in armed banditry, insurgency. What you should do is outright execution, even though some human rights organizations call it extrajudicial killing. What is the extrajudicial killing in it? Somebody that killed somebody's father, somebody's husband, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, made somebody a widow, orphan, and what have you, then you get that kind of a suspect and you are saying judicial process. I think if they want us to believe there will be a positive outcome, let there be institution of special prosecution courts for kidnap-related cases, armed banditry, insurgency, and what have you, where the laws will be like this Chinese style, where it will be through hanging or outright execution, no matter what any international human rights organization would say. That, if it's taken, it would be or serve as deterrent to some of these kidnapper suspects and other people willing to do that in anticipation and in future. So I think no matter what outcome it will be, if the criminal administration is faulty, if the laws are not satisfactory, it is not instant, pronouncement of judgment, then it is going to be the way it used to be. So for now, I don't think there will be any outcome other than what we've been saying, except if the Tinubu administration restructure the judicial system by instituting special courts for prosecution of this suspect, where the minimum, the maximum, what have you, will be not even life sentence in the prison. No, outright execution by firing squad or by hanging.
Well, recently, the wife of the president, Senator Remi Tinubu, came out to say that capital punishment should be meted, out on these non-state actors. At the same time, the president has also come out to say, he has vehemently, opposed any form of dialogue with, these non-state actors, whether in terms of, payment of ransom or the likes. However, a controversial sheikh who is known for interfacing with insurgents has tongue-lashed the federal government for making public names of these terrorism financiers. How would you react to the resolve of the government and the counter views that have been expressed by Sheikh Gumi?
Sheikh Gumi is is an individual in the society, is a cleric. And how many clerics do we have in the Islamic religion? How many clerics do you have in Christian religion or other religion in the country? So he's entitled to his opinion. No sane person would say there should be dialogue or negotiation with non-state actors who have been holding people ransom. I think his opinion is rather unpatriotic, is not good at this time. It is unfortunate that democracy is making a lot of us to talk anyhow, where his sister or brother or any of his relatives will have been adopted or killed in the insurgent or armed banditry activities. I don't think he will have been talking like that. His father, who was Sheikh Mahmoud Gumi, is a retired Sharia court judge, was one of the best northern clerics we had before his death. So, and I believe if Gumi will protect that name, he should go by the positive antecedents of his late father, Sheikh Mahmoud Gumi, whom myself as a younger person know very well, would have assisted me in life in the early 90s. So if he comes from that kind of a father, he himself, Gumi, was a retired military officer. I can remember I met him in 1997 in the residence of the then Nigeria High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, Ambassador Muhammadu Chadi Abubakar of blessed memory. He used to be a promising young officer then, even though he later retired at young rank and young age and also. So for somebody who was acting in the military, I think he needed to be patriotic than that, because a lot of people will suspect as if he's aiding and abetting some of these bandits and insurgents. What is wrong in publishing the name? So I think the step the federal government has taken by publishing these names is the step in the right direction, because when people are involved in criminality, there is nothing that says you shield them or hide their identity. The only thing I'm telling you is that the principal actors who these people whose names have been published are, maybe acting for, are still there, yet to be unveiled.
Okay.
So that is what we are looking at in the country right now.
All right. Comrade, thank you so much for talking to us. Time won't permit us. Let us go further in this conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Right, Comrade Salihu Mahmoud Dantata is a security analyst. And, the conversation continues, as a matter of fact, because this is a developing story as far as, we are concerned here. We're waiting for more, updates and perhaps a constructive outcome, that would actually emanate from the publication of, these names. But again, don't forget you can share your thoughts with us on the comment section on our YouTube channel. Let us know what you think or make of this development. But that's it for news analysis today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Momo Ife Piece of Semere, and I'll be back in a moment with the news update. Good afternoon.